over the weekend after warning IDF airstrikes took down 2 high-rise towers in Gaza that served Hamas terror. It's day 702 of the war in Gaza, and it opened with incoming rocket fire at Israeli communities along the border. This afternoon, Israel also saw multiple ballistic missile attacks from the Houthis, with sirens sounding in southern Israel. In Eilat, Ramon Airport was struck after a drone sent by the Houthis reportedly exploded, injuring at least 2. More on the latest developments in Gaza from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
As a reminder that Hamas is not yet defeated, the terrorists managed to fire 2 rockets from Gaza toward Israeli border towns this morning. One was intercepted by air defense and the other fell harmlessly in an open area. Over the weekend, the IDF intensified airstrikes in and around Gaza City and for the first time since the early stages of the war hit high-rise buildings in the city. The IDF published urgent evacuation orders for the building in the Tel Al-Hawa neighborhood. The Al-Susi building was being used by Hamas as an operational center and included an underground facility beneath the structure. The towers were utilized to plan attacks, stage ambushes against IDF forces, and provide escape routes for operatives. In the coming days, the IDF plans to continue carrying out precise strikes against Hamas terrorist infrastructure in and around Gaza City.
אנחנו אוחזים ב-40% משטח העיר עזה. הפעולה תמשיך להתרחב ולהתעצם בימים הקרובים. חמאס יפגוש בעיר עזה את כוחות צה"ל במלוא עוצמתם. נגביר את הלחץ על חמאס עד להכרעתו. נמשיך לרדוף אותם בכל מקום.
The army reiterated calls for city residents to flee to the new humanitarian zone in the Al-Mawasi area in the south. This amid intensified Israeli operations to take over Gaza City. The Army statement called on city residents to take this opportunity to move to the humanitarian zone and join the thousands of people who have already gone there. The area has been equipped with field hospitals, water pipelines, and desalination facilities, and will receive a continuous supply of food, tents, medicines, and medical equipment. Over the weekend, in a joint IDF Shin Bet operation, security forces eliminated Nur al-Din Dabaksh, who worked in the Hamas finance department. He was involved in the collection and transfer of tens of millions of dollars to Hamas's military wing in Gaza. In northern Gaza, IDF troops are operating to locate and dismantle terror infrastructure sites above and below ground. IDF troops are also operating against Hamas operatives in the Jabalia area. Over the past day, the troops dismantled terror infrastructure, eliminated terrorists, and operated to clear areas rigged with explosives.
President Trump says that his administration is in very deep talks with Hamas. The American president also caused great concern amid hostage families as he once again reiterated his claim that some of the hostages may have recently passed away. More on this and a weekend of angry protests in Jerusalem in this report from ILTV's Devil Klein.
Speaking to reporters from the Oval Office, President Trump was asked about the status of the mediated hostage negotiations between Israel and Hamas. Trump made the surprise announcement that the U.S. was deep in talks with Hamas, while warning it's going to be nasty if all captives are not released. Trump gave no details of the talks, but reports said U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff met in Paris with Qatari officials Thursday to discuss efforts to reach a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza. During the Oval Office comments, Trump also said that some of the Israeli hostages may have recently died.
We're in very deep negotiation with Hamas. We said, let them all out right now, let them all out, and much better things will happen for them. But if you don't let them all out, it's going to be a tough situation. It's going to be nasty. That's my opinion. Israel's choice, but that's my opinion. They got to let them out. You got 20 plus you have about 38 dead people, young, beautiful, dead people. And I'll tell you, the parents want them every bit as much, almost more, than as if their son or daughter were alive. But you have many dead people that are coming out as part of the deal. It's 20 people, but I think of the 20, there could be some that have recently died.
Trump's comments on the status of the living hostages followed up on similar remarks he made last month when he caused distress among hostage families by suggesting that fewer than 20 hostages remained alive. According to official Israeli tallies, 48 hostages remain in captivity, 26 of whom have been declared dead. Authorities have expressed grave concern about the lives of 2 others. The hostage families and supporters staged mass protests over the weekend, with Jerusalem at the center. Freed hostages and family members of hostages called on the government to return to the negotiating table rather than expand the war, almost after 2 years since Hamas abducted 251 people from the Gaza envelope in its October 7th attack.
The order to launch a ground conquest of Gaza is a death sentence for the hostages and will cause the fallen to be lost forever. We call on the defense establishment, on the IDF chief of staff, and on the negotiation team, stand firm, oppose any action that will kill the hostages.
Over the weekend, Hamas released a video showing signs of life from hostages Guy Gilboa Dalal and Alon Ohel. It was the first time Alon Ohel had been seen alive since he was taken hostage, along with 250 others during the Hamas-led October 7th attack. In the 28-second clip, Gilboa Dalal pleads for his release, saying, quote, "Please bring us back." His family has authorized the publication of the video.
It was very hard for me to see the video. I was very emotional. It was the first time I saw my son since the 7th of October 2023. I saw him. I do see that he is injured. We talked to many medical doctors, eye doctors. After they saw the video, we know that Alon is injured in his right eye, that he can't see it as well as he's blinded in that eye. And I'm worried.
Well, joining us now to discuss the next steps and the possibilities of a breakthrough in hostage talks is former MK and former ambassador Michael Oren. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. Always a pleasure to have you on. Now, there's a lot going on with this Gaza op. I mean, we see the IDF moving ahead, and just this morning we've seen reports that this campaign would take estimates of a year. Is this something that the war-weary IDF can continue at this pace?
It's going to be quite a stretch. Good to be with you, but very, very difficult at this point. Not impossible, but difficult. President Trump has said that he expects the operation to wrap up in 2 to 3 weeks. And here the IDF is saying, no, it may take as long as a year, with many members of the Reserve Corps having already served 500-600 days in combat, which is, even by international historical military standards, is totally inconceivable. There's an old report from Vietnam that said a soldier's efficacy goes down almost to zero after 40 days of combat. So you can imagine what it's like for these soldiers. Then in addition, the international pressure on the state of Israel, Palestinian casualties, in addition to Israeli casualties, will be increasing manifoldly. So time is definitely a factor here. A factor. The big question at the end of the day is, will Hamas actually return all of the hostages? Now, Hamas is evil, we know, but Hamas is not stupid, and it knows that the minute it returns the last hostage, then Israel will be in a position to go in and destroy Hamas completely. And so I am personally skeptical whether Hamas will ever return all of the hostages. At the end, it may say, well, we don't know where they are, but it'll always keep several hostages, and it's terrible to even say this, but to keep several of them for safekeeping, as it were, for a rainy day.
Now, what is the end goal of this operation? We've heard different things from different people at different times. I mean, are the goals of defeating Hamas and releasing hostages inherently contradictory? Or is there a way that this could work in Israel's favor if done right?
There was always a contradiction between the two goals. Let's be honest about it. From day one, from October 7th, the goal of destroying Hamas on one hand, releasing all the hostages on the other, were always at a certain level mutually exclusive and irreconcilable. Because we learned, if you believe that putting military pressure on Hamas, ramping up that pressure, Hamas will release hostages, we found out, tragically, that Hamas does not necessarily release hostages if it's pressured. It sometimes shoots the hostages if they're pressured. And the hostages themselves are exposed to Israeli military operations and the ramifications. We know that as well. So it's not so simple. I was asked by a journalist this morning whether Israel should or should not go into Gaza City, and I said the answer is very simple: yes to both questions. We've mentioned already the downsides of going into Gaza, the casualties, the danger to the hostages, the international recriminations, the exhaustion of our troops. On the other hand, not going into Gaza Not going into Gaza creates a situation where basically Israel will have to surrender. Hamas will declare victory. Hamas does not care about the destruction. It does not care about the death of Palestinians. On the contrary, it strengthens their case, their identity. And the world will go out throughout the Middle East that Hamas has basically defeated the state of Israel. And that will have security ramifications for us. I personally believe that no other Arab country will ever join the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords signatories joined the Abraham Accords because we're strong, not because we're weak. And what will that mean to release, say, another 1,000 or 2,000 terrorist prisoners from our prisons who will immediately rejoin Hamas? What does that mean for the citizens of the South? Will they go back to their homes? So the answer to the question, should not Israel go into Gaza City? The answer to both is, unfortunately, tragically, yes.
Yeah, it seems like a lose-lose situation there. Hopefully something good can come from whatever decision ends up being made. I want to ask you regarding the hostage negotiations. We see many opinions from many Israelis. I'd love to get your take. Is the Israeli government the obstacle to a deal, or is it Hamas?
I think basing on the United States, what the American mediators have said, and this is going back to Tony Blinken, not just to Steve Witkoff under the Trump administration, have always blamed Hamas. There was a sense last spring that there was a deal on the table and that Israel did not accept that deal. I haven't seen a convincing argument from the government to refute that accusation, but it certainly deserves to be clarified. It's very important. I think it's almost as important as clarifying the government's role on October 7th is to know whether there was a hostage deal that was somehow missed going back to last spring. Don't know. But since then, almost universally, there's a consensus between Trump officials and Biden officials that the major obstacle to hostage release is Hamas. And that makes perfect sense. With France, Great Britain, Australia, Canada recognizing a Palestinian state, consistently rewarding Hamas for terror, for the world coming down so hard on Israel for Palestinian casualties, it's in Hamas's interest to keep the war going. Even the New York Times wrote an article the other day, why Hamas has an interest in keeping the war going. And until the world understands that what Hamas is and how Hamas operates, that Hamas actually wants to see Palestinians dead, Palestinians displaced, Palestinians hungry, it's in its interest, then this war will keep going. And the pressure on Israel is misplaced. The pressure has to be on Hamas.
All right, well, we'll hope for the best in terms of international pressure on Hamas, and hopefully we can bring at least some of these hostages home. It's been way too long, over 700 days now. I want to thank you for joining us on the broadcast today, Michael Oren.
May they all be home soon. Thank you.
Well, we're excited to feature Nate Buzalic, an accomplished actor and human rights activist, as he shares his spiritual journey from the sets of Hollywood to the streets of Jerusalem. Catch him in episode 2 of our special new series with Israel Bonds, One-on-One with Lidar Grave-Lazi. Join us September 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Scan the QR code on your screen to RSVP. Register now to watch. In Beirut, the cabinet gave final approval for the Lebanese military to begin implementing its plan to disarm the Islamic Republic-backed Hezbollah terror group. The discussion led to a walkout by pro-Hezbollah ministers. ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has the latest.
According to an announcement by a Lebanese information minister, Paul Morkos, the Lebanese government has now confirmed its plan for the army to dismantle Hezbollah.
الجيش اللبناني سيباشر بتنفيذ الخطة لكن وفق الإمكانات المتاحة اللي هي إمكانات لوجستية ومادية وبشرية محدودة بالنهاية.
The statement included the cautionary note explaining that the operation could take some time. According to the minister, the cabinet decided to keep the details of the army's plan secret. Hezbollah and its allies object to the disarmament plan, and all 5 Shiite ministers walked out of the cabinet session as soon as the Lebanese army commander entered to present details. Calls for Hezbollah's disarmament have taken center stage in Lebanon since the terror group sustained heavy losses in a year-long conflict with Israel. The results of that war, which was paused by a ceasefire last November, upended a power balance that had long been dominated by the Shiite Muslim group. This year, Lebanese President Joseph Aoun, under pressure from the United States, has pushed for the terror group to disarm. Israel has said it will withdraw from sites in Lebanon that its troops still occupy if Hezbollah lays down its weapons. But Hezbollah has so far rejected any move to dismantle its arsenal.
Egypt is drawing a red line on Gaza, but critics say Cairo's position is a shameful performance that leaves Gazans trapped and dying. Let's see the latest report.
This week, Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati declared that any forced displacement of Gazans would violate a moral and legal red line. He warned that it would mark the end of the Palestinian cause and called it, quote, genocide in motion. But these statements ring hollow given Cairo's record of rejecting Palestinian refugees. Egypt has consistently refused to allow shelter, even temporary, to Gazans fleeing war. Throughout multiple conflicts, including today's war, Egypt has kept its border sealed, allowing only a trickle of aid while millions remain trapped. Abdelati even denounced the idea that Palestinians leave Gaza voluntarily, claiming starvation as forced pressure. But it is Egypt, alongside Israel, that enforces the blockade of the Gaza Strip due to shared threats of terrorism. Egypt also claimed this week that the Rafah crossing is reserved only for limited humanitarian aid. But by shutting the only route of exit, Cairo is leaving civilians to suffer inside a war zone. The ongoing Gaza war is one of the only conflicts in the world where civilians have been prevented from leaving a war zone, both by Hamas, which blocks Gazans from fleeing, and by Egypt, which seals the border. And yet there's been little to no international discussion on Egypt's role. Critics say Egypt's policy is not defending the Palestinian cause, it is sacrificing civilians to score political points. By hiding behind talk of genocide and red lines, Cairo is ensuring Gazans remain trapped between Hamas terror and closed borders with no way out.
Over the weekend, intense anti-terror operations were conducted by the IDF and Shin Bet in Judea and Samaria, leading to the arrest of some 70 wanted Palestinians. The counterterrorism raids in northern Samaria resulted in the detainment of 25 suspects, 13 rifles, 4 pistols, and a Carlo-style submachine gun, which were seized. And several explosive devices were also located and confiscated in the Hebron area. According to the IDF, a senior Hamas operative preparing an IED attack against Israeli civilians was arrested in the town of Seda. Separately, soldiers from the Paratroopers Brigade's reconnaissance unit detained several additional suspects and neutralized an IED. Dozens more Palestinians accused of involvement in terror activities were apprehended during large-scale raids in 2 towns northeast of Ramallah and in the northern part of East Jerusalem in Israel. The IDF says its forces seized weapons and incitement materials. Separately, IDF troops eliminated a terrorist near Burin after he threw a suspicious object at troops at a checkpoint and ignored others. There were no other injuries to IDF soldiers. Well, the UK has a new Home Secretary, and her record on Israel is already raising eyebrows. Let's take a look.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer has appointed Shabana Mahmoud to head the Home Office in his first major cabinet shakeup. The Home Secretary is one of the most powerful posts in British politics, overseeing policing, immigration, counterterrorism, border policy, and all of MI5. But Mahmoud's history is controversial. She's well known for her support of the BDS movement. In 2014, she led a demonstration that forced a supermarket in Birmingham to close its doors after protesters targeted Israeli goods. This past year, Mahmoud abstained from voting to designate the radical group Palestine Action as a terrorist organization. The group has been behind a wave of vandalism and attacks on British Jewish communities and Israeli-linked companies, including storming factories, spray painting buildings, and blocking roads. They also infiltrated a British Air Force base and damaged 2 aircraft. Mahmoud's critics say refusing to ban such a group raises serious questions about her commitment to public safety. Mahmoud has also stated unequivocally that her faith, Islam, is the primary driver of everything she does, a statement that adds to concerns about whether religion and personal ideology may impact her policy decisions. With hate crimes against British Jews at record levels, her new position puts her in charge of the very department tasked with combating extremism, protecting vulnerable communities, and directing the work of MI5. For many, that makes her an unsettling choice for one of the highest offices in British government. Shabana Mahmoud now begins her tenure as Home Secretary with debate already swirling over whether her anti-Israel activism and concerning rhetoric will impact the precarious situation for the already targeted UK Jewish community.
Every expert would have told you that Israel's day had passed and Iran was the regnant power in the Middle East. And so far, tiny Israel has succeeded in neutralizing all of the Iranian air defenses, virtually all of them, the security leaders of Iran. One of the key ways we did it is through innovation. And that innovation, as you know, came from the Technion. I was involved intimately with the development and funding of Iron Dome, of David Sling, Arrow 2. None of that would have been possible without Technia. The university has played a pivotal role in saving thousands of lives. Technology is a type of Iron Dome for the society as itself. And it's not just a localized Iron Dome, it's a globalized Iron Dome. We have to invest. As we invest in R&D, we have to invest in the minds behind R&D. Israel has to make itself indispensable to the world. And the only way we're going to do this is through technology. It's Israeli technologies that are not only helping to forge the 21st century, but it also enhances the security of American families, American individuals from now into the future.
And for our basketball fans, anticipation for tonight's Eurobasket games are high as Team Israel is slated to play Greece tonight in what will be the first appearance in the round of 16 by an Israeli team for nearly a decade. ILTV's Devo Klein has more.
The incredible performance of Team Israel in this year's Eurobasket games have landed the blue and white team a spot in the round of 16, the final showdown to secure a spot in the quarterfinals round. After placing in the top 4 in the standings of their division, Team Israel advanced to the first knockout round of the championship. Israel is slated to face off against Greece tonight in an epic game that will seal the fate of the team. Will they come out victorious and continue to the quarterfinals, or lose the game and exit the tournament? As per the championship regulations, Israel placing 4th in their respective division means they play a first seed from another division in this game tonight. Greece came out on top in their division, Group B, after a clean sweep of 4 wins and 0 losses in the first 5 weeks of games of the tournament. The Greek team, without a doubt, poses a massive threat to the Israeli team. But one specialty of the Israeli national team is the element of surprise and perseverance amid challenges. Israel's success in their game against Iceland and the big unexpected win against France means the blue and whites are definitely capable of surprising us fans. So stay tuned for the game tonight and good luck to the team. El Israel.
A rare blood moon will rise tonight in Asia, including Israel, during a total lunar eclipse. As Earth comes between the sun and moon, an eclipse will peak for those in Israel between 8:30 p.m. and 9:52 p.m. The phenomenon will also be visible in parts of Europe, Australia, and Africa. The partial eclipse began a few hours ago. The moon will gradually grow darker and redder until the full eclipse takes place at 8:30 p.m. and will peak at 9:12 p.m., just over an hour from now. The moon will then gradually grow brighter until the eclipse ends at 11:55 p.m., when the sun, Earth, and moon line up. The shadow cast by the planet on its satellite makes it appear an eerie, deep red color that has astounded humans for millennia. The moon appears red during lunar eclipses because the only sunlight reaching it is reflected and scattered through the Earth's atmosphere. Blue wavelengths of light are shorter than red ones, so are more easily dispersed as they travel through Earth's atmosphere. The last total lunar eclipse was in March this year, while the one before that was in 2012. And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Partly cloudy skies are expected around most of the country tonight, with temperatures reaching lows of 23 degrees Celsius or 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow we'll see clear skies alongside hot temperatures, seeing highs of 31 degrees Celsius or 88 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels and our new live channel. You can also catch us on Screen IL with 24/7 live coverage. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Emily Schrader. Be well, and thank you for watching.